Now let's look at interest and growth. Interest and growth has a mixed bag of questions, right? Some easy, some difficult, but overall, you need to understand that if the concepts are clear, you really understand it very well, the conceptual part of it, then you're going to be answering these questions very quickly. From a formulaic perspective, what we are taught in school is just two basic formulae, right? Simple interest equals P and R by 100, or when it comes to compound interest, amount equals P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power n. Now, how it works that way, why it works that way, we've seen the lessons in the concept videos, right? Just go through that part and more, right? The concepts which are there in this particular lesson, over and above the formulae is more, right? Observation on things. We'll be using some of them while answering these questions. If at any point you're not clear with the approach, then please refer to the concept videos and do complete the speed concepts as well. Okay, so question 33. John borrowed rupees 2,10,000 from a bank at an interest rate of 10% per annum compounded annually. Okay, I'm borrowing 2,10,000. I'm John. Now, the loan was repaid in two equal installments, X and X. The first after 1 year and the second after another year. The first installment was interest of 1 year plus part of the principal amount, right? The interest was paid off as well as portion of the principal. You remove the principal part of it. The second was rest of the principal amount plus the due interest thereon. So that means the loan is settled, right? So what we have over here is the present value, right? This is one of those formulae we have seen in the lessons. It's pretty simple, right? The present value equals sum of the present values of each of the future payments, right? So X and X, two X's are paid. One is after 1 year. So X divided by 1.1, 1 plus R by 100. Not going to be writing the entire formula. Please refer to the lesson. The other is divided by 1.1 whole square, right? 2 years later, the second payment comes in. So if you have to discount it to the present value, divided by the multiplication factor of 1 plus 10 by 100, the whole square. That's it. We're done. And the present value today, the loan value we know, which is 210,000. We just have to solve for this. It's one of the tougher years, right? CAT 2018. And you get some really easy questions like this. You have to pick and choose and make sure you don't miss out on these questions. The LCM over here is 1.1 whole square. And what do you get? Take the X out and you get 1.1 plus 1. That's it. You don't even need to write so many steps. 1.1 plus 1 is nothing but 2.1. 2.1, if you cancel on this side, you're going to get 1 followed by 5 zeros, right? And X over here is nothing but 1.1 square, which is 1.21 multiplied with this 1.21 multiplied with 1 lakh is 1,21,000. That's the answer for this question. Gopal borrows rupees X from Ankit at 8% annual interest. Okay. He then adds rupees Y of his own money and lends rupees X plus Y to Ishan at 10% annual interest. Now I borrowed X and I have to return 8% of that. Okay. I'm giving another Y rupees of my own along with that X at 10% extra, right? I'm going to profit of 2% on X and I'm getting full 10% of Y. At the end of the year, after returning Ankit's dues, what was Ankit's dues? 8% of what was borrowed. Okay. The net interest retained by Gopal is the same as that accrued to Ankit. What did I give Ankit? 8% of X. What did I keep with myself? 10% of Y, right? That belongs to me as interest plus 2% of X, right? 2% of X. Let me just do it my way and then we'll draw a diagram and see as to how you can, visualize that part. I'm keeping 2% of X and returning only 8%. I got 10% for the X and 10% for the Y. The full portion for Y is with me because that's the sum I gave. And on the X, 2% is my profit. I return only 8%, but I got 10%. These two are equal. So take the 2% there and you get 6% into X equals 10% into Y. So X by Y over here is nothing but 5 by 3. 5:3 ratio, X and Y are. Okay. On the other hand, had Gopal lent X plus 2Y, instead of X plus Y, gives extra Y at the same 10%, then the net interest retained by him would have increased by. This increase over here compared to the previous scenario is only because extra 1Y is coming up over here, right? It was already X plus Y, but if it's X plus 2Y, then I'm increased portion, the increased portion increased by how much? 10% of Y. 10% of Y. And that is given to me over here as what? Increased by rupees 150. That extra Y which was lent out, that resulted in 10% of Y. Just repeating the same thing, that results in extra 150 rupees coming in, and that's it. With that we can find 10% of something is 150, Then what is y? 1500, right? You can just write it as 1 by 10 and take it there, and you get y equals 1500. If y over here is 1500, 3 parts is 1500, then 5 parts over here is 2500. What's asked is the sum total of these two, x plus y, which comes to 4000, and the answer becomes 4000. Now, questions like these are seemingly complex, right? It came from one of the toughest years, but it's not so, right? It's not so much if you logically simply understand. In terms of formula or application, it's very minimal, right? We need to understand the story given over here, right? So Ankit over here is going to be giving some money to Gopal. So Gopal is going to be returning something called interest, right? Okay. So let's say the principal of x came in, and Gopal over here is given x plus y of his own money to some other person, right? And was that name given over there? We don't even have that, right? So it doesn't matter over here. And what's going to be, let's call it the borrower. Now, the borrower is going to be returning 0.1x plus 0.1y, 10% of x and y. But Gopal over here is only returning 0.08x. So what is the money retained over here? 8% of x or 0.08x has gone back to Ankit. But what remains with Gopal is the full 10% of y and 2% of x. Why is it 2% of x? The money remaining with Gopal over here is after giving out 0.08x, it comes to 0.02x plus 0.1y, which is what I've written as 10% of y and 2% of x. We just need the ratio over here. Don't need to use decimals necessarily, but this is the transaction. Now, if you can visualize this part well, you should be able to answer these questions very quickly, right? So look to do that, practice a lot of these questions, and you'll get that speed. A person invested a total amount of rupees 15 lakhs. A part of it was invested in a fixed deposit earning 6% annual interest, and the remaining amount was invested in two other deposits in the ratio 2:1. Okay, you have an FD over here at 6%, and then you have two more at 4% and 3%. Okay, and that's in the ratio 2:1, the amounts. Okay, if the total annual interest income is 76,000, okay, total is 15 lakhs, grand total is 15 lakhs, 76,000 is the interest amount, then what is the amount invested in FD, right? How much is this going to be, the amount over here? How do we do this? If what is given over here is in rupees lakhs, so we need to understand that it's going to be an integer more or less, and 2 and 1 over here given away, and then you have an FD. 15 is already a 3 multiple, and this is 2 plus 1, that's another 3 multiple, and 76,000 as a percentage of 15 lakhs is coming to more than 5%, closer to 6. So a lot of money is there at 6% as compared to 4 and 3. If you have a sense of that, then we could try out some values. The first set of values I'll go for are probably going to be 6 lakhs over here and 9 lakhs over here. Why did I go for 6? It divides in the ratio of 2:1 neatly and nicely, because that's what we need. We need an integer answer over here in lakhs. Now, when I try out these values, 2:1 ratio to split 6 lakhs, right? That becomes 4 lakhs and 2 lakhs, right? 4% of 4 lakhs over here is coming to 16,000. 3% of 2 lakhs is coming to 6,000. And 9 lakhs at 6%, 6 nines are 54, 54. Does it work out? Yeah, I mean, 76,000 is what we get. It works out over here. What is asked is amount in fixed deposit. The answer becomes 9, right? This would be the approach I'd be adopting for these reasons, right? To observe that, lakhs over here is what is given, integer answer. This is a 3 multiple. The total is also a 3 multiple. Provide a 3 multiple. If 6 doesn't work out, then I might have gone for 3 lakhs or 9 lakhs over here and the remaining here and tried out. Or if you're looking for variables and you want to try it and test it, foolproof approach, you can still do that. All right. So instead of taking x and 2x, right, for these two, the 2:1 ratio at 4% and 3% over here, instead of taking x and I'll say the principal over here, right, x and 2x and x, I'm going to take 200x, yeah, 200x and 100x, right, 100x, and 15 lakhs is nothing but 1,500,000, right? Eventually it's all going to be in thousands. I'm ignoring the thousands part. I'm taking it as 200x and 100x. At 6%, what's it going to be? If total is writing it in thousands, so 1500 is the total amount, 1500 thousands. Now from that 1500, I have given away 200x, 200x and 100x for 4% and 3%, right? 2:1 ratio. So I'm left with 1500 minus 300x. Now 6% of this is nothing but 6 into 15, ignore the zeros, right? 6 into 15 is 90, 6 into 3 is 18, minus 18x, 4 2s are 8x. So I'm taking 100 multiples because of the percentage symbol. And we get 3x over here. If I add these three, which is the interest component, if I add these three, I'm going to get 90 minus 18 plus 11, which comes to minus 7x equals 76. I'm not writing the thousands because I did not look at the thousands, right? So 76 over here. 14 equals 7x, x equals 2, right? X equals 2. It's all in thousands. What do we need to find? We need to find the amount in rupees lakhs. It's all in thousands. We can add the 3 zeros in the end. We need to find out the amount invested in fixed deposit. 1500 minus 300x. 1500 minus 300 into 2, which comes to 600, which comes to 900 in fixed deposits, right? 900, it's all in thousands. I add 3 zeros and it comes to 9 lakhs. The question asks us to find in rupees lakhs. So the answer is 9. A, B, and G invest money in the ratio 3:4:5 in fixed deposits, having respective annual interest rates in the ratio 6:5:4. So these are principles. These are rate of interest rate. Okay. What is the total interest income after a year? So n equals 1, exactly 1 year. So therefore, it doesn't matter whether it's compound or simple, right? If n is 1, it's the same. For 1 year, under compound interest and simple interest, it's the same interest. There's no interest on interest. So if Bina's interest income exceeds that of A by rupees 250, okay, simple, right? So we've seen this. These examples are there in the lesson as well. If you have the ratio of the principal given, right, which is 3:4:5, the ratio of R given 6:5:4, and the ratio of I think some example number 6 or 7, right, in the lesson, 1:1:1. If you multiply these PNR by 100, ratio of simple interest is nothing but the product of these divided by 100. The divide by 100 doesn't matter in the ratio. The product of these gives us simple interest. Just multiply them. 18:20:20, right? Which is 9:10:10. Now, what's given to us is Bina's interest income exceeds that of A. Okay. B minus A is how many parts? Is one part. 10 minus 9, one part. And that is given to us as 250 rupees. Then, what is their total interest income? They're all three of them put together. That's 10 plus 10 plus 9, 29. 29 is how much? If one part is 250, 29 parts is 29 into 250. 30 into 250 is 7,500. Remove a 250 and you get option 2, 7250. Amal invests rupees 12,000 at 8% interest compounded annually and rupees 10,000 at 6% interest compounded semi-annually. Okay, both are compounded. One is semi-annum and one is per annum. Okay, Bimal invests his money at 7.5% simple interest for 1 year. Okay, Amal and Bimal get the same amount of interest, then the amount rupees what? 1 year. 1 year is what we're looking at. Okay, so the same amount of interest, right? Same amount of interest is what they're earning. We're focusing only on the interest and nothing else. 8% of 12,000 is how much, right? To get the same amount of interest. 8%, Amal's interest earned, Amal interest 1 is going to be 8% of 12,000. The zeros are cancelled. 8 into 120, 960 rupees. The interest on the second one, right? What's that going to be? 6% interest looks like 3% per semi-annum, right? For every 6 months is going to be half of this, 3% per semi-annum, but compounded over here. So for the first time period, it's going to be 3% of 10,000, which is 300, right? That's going to be 300 itself, plus for the second time period, it's interest on the principal plus interest on the interest portion over here, right? Logically, we've done this. I mean, you should be remembering 3% of 300, right? Interest is going to be paid on the principal, which is 300 for the second time period, right? For the first half year, there was interest of 300 which has come in. I have to pay interest on interest, right? Interest on interest. And how much is that? 3%. 3% of 300 is going to come to 9 rupees. So this is 609 totally, plus your 960, which comes to 1569. Now what's given to us over here is this 1569, right? Is what Bimal has also and got the same amount of interest at 7.5%, right? For 1 year. One, if you want, you can write with some principal. We need to find that principal, the amount invested by Bimal. So multiply and divide. Multiply and divide by 2. You're going to get 15 by 200 divided by a 5. You're going to get a 40 here and a 3. And 3 you divide over here, you get 523. Your principal is 523 into 40. 500 into 40 is 20,000. 23 into 40 is 920. So the answer comes to 20,920. Viru invested rupees 10,000 at 5% simple annual interest, and exactly after 2 years, Joy invested rupees 8,000 at 10% simple annual interest. 2 years after Viru. How many years after Viru's investment will their balances, that is principal plus accumulated interest, be equal? After Viru, the first person. Let's say Viru, it takes n years after Viru invested. Then somebody who's invested after 2 years, Joy, has invested only for n minus 2 years, right? N years Viru invested, Joy is for the remaining n minus 2 years because Joy's money came in after 2 years. That's it. Each year, we're going to earn how much is interest over here. We have the principal plus the interest, right? Amount equals principal plus interest. For Viru, it's going to be 10,000 of principal plus 5% of 10,000. That is 500 rupees each year. For how many years? For n years, right? And that should be equal to, the amount should become equal, right? The two people's amount should be equal. And Joy over here is putting in 8,000 rupees, but earning 10% of 8,000, which is 800 rupees every year. And for how many years? For n minus 2 years. So n years after Viru's investment is n minus 2 after Joy, because Joy came in 2 years later, right? Just look at it this way. So you have Viru here, you have Joy here. If this is 2 years, if the total is n years, right? N years, then Joy's money has been in the lying in the deposit for n minus 2, the remaining period. Now these two amounts should be equal. That's what is given over here. Just put an equal to symbol, one variable. Simplify, right? It's quite simple now. 2,000, actually 2,000, and then you have a minus 1,600, which when it comes here becomes plus 1,600 equals. We have a 500n coming here, becomes 300n. N equals 3,600 by 300. 36 by 3 comes to 12. 12 is the answer for this question. For the same principal amount, the compound interest for 2 years at 5% per annum exceeds the simple interest for 3 years at 3% per annum by 1125, right? So if you know the concepts really well, you're going to be very quick, right? Principal amount is what, right? So all that I would do over here is 5% first year, compound interest. So I'm getting 5% in the second year plus interest on interest. 5% of 5%. 5 into 5 is 25, so 0.25%. So 10.25% is what I make over here under compound interest, right? What about simple interest? 3 years, 3% is a simple multiplication. 3 into 3 is 9%. Minus 9%, I get 1.25%. If 1.25% is 1125, the difference is given to me. Then what is the principal amount? Principal amount is the full 100%, right? Divide by 125.01%. Divide by 125. This I know, 9 into 125 is 1125. If you're quick with these, you don't need a calculator even. 0.01 to 100%, you have to multiply with a 10,000. So do the same over here to get 90,000. That becomes the answer for this question. No variables, no big steps, just simple understanding that all these percentages are percentage of the principal, right? So 5% compound interest in the first year, compound interest for the second year is going to be 5% on the principal and 5% on the interest. Instead of doing 1.05 whole square equals 1.1025 and then getting 10.25%, you could quickly do it this way, minus the 9%. And yeah, a person invested a certain amount of money at 10% annual interest, compounded half yearly. Okay, annually 10%, compounded half yearly 5% per semi-annum. After 1.5 years, 3 time periods, 1.5 years, 3 half years, n equals 3, r equals 5% per semi-annum. The interest and principal together, that's the amount, became 18,522. The amount in rupees was invested was what? Simple. So amount equals P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power n. Ideally, you should not be wasting too much time with these, right? Writing the formula down and all of that. 1 plus R by 100 whole power n, and then coming to it and writing it as 18,522 divided by 1 plus 5 by 100, which is 1.05 whole cube. If you're very clear with this, you'd be getting this step very quickly. You don't need to write these down. No marks for these, right? 18,522 is the amount divided by the multiplication factor is the principal. That's 1.05 whole cube, right? You should be getting this very quickly. At this point, you can use a calculator to answer, because again, there are no step marks over here. At this point, you can use a calculator to answer, all right? 18,522. Don't do a 1.05 cube, just divide by 1.05 3 times, right? 3 times, and we'll get our answer over here as 16,000. That becomes the answer for this question.